Dan Really Likes Wine, and welcome to another week of Dan Really Likes Wine, presented by Pick n Pay all the way from Greece, which is not because Pick n Pay, it's to the best of my knowledge, are about to open a series of stores across Greece, although that would be rather welcome. No, it's because I find myself with my wife's family on holiday across the country, and find myself as I look out across the olive groves to my right in Adamas, which is the port city of a little island called Milos, which from the day or so that I've been here so far is charming. It is rugged, it's very dry. It's home to a single vineyard, which I'm going to be visiting later on this week. And it is my home for this week as I continue to explore Greece and to check out the country. In fact, I've got some photos from a little earlier on today. I think Ronaldo, my poor producer, who's marooned back in Johannesburg. This is a little beach we were at earlier on today. And they've got this wonderful history. You'll see those buildings on the right. There's almost like a garage door, bottom right corner. These are old fishermen's houses. And what they do is they build the kind of garage style space for the boat and the fishing gear, and then on top a simple room, and that would be the home for the fishermen while working. They've now mostly been turned into little accommodation spots, and so that is where I found myself on the beach a little earlier on today, enjoying some blue skies and some Greek sunshine and that crystal clear water that is the hallmark of life in Greece. So a pretty good day. Pheropotamus Beach, there's the name there. So that's kicking off a week in Milos, which will also include some time at the local winery a little later on this week. So what are we doing today? Well, today I head to an island I really love. It's an island called Kefalonia, and it is a winemaker called Petros who is going to be talking me through wine on the island of Kefalonia, the wine that he is making, the brand that he has, and in the broader context of the 4 weeks that I've got in Greece, the extraordinary rise of Greek wine. What is making it so exciting at the moment? What's making his wine so exciting? And what lessons, if any, and I think the answer is several, we can learn from Greek wine in terms of South Africa. So that is today. It is 2 shows this week from Greece. We've got a couple of cool guests coming up a little later on in the week as well. But today it is Petros all the way from Kefalonia. He'll be joining me in a moment. First of all, though, a look at some of the more recent wine news. Now, this is coming up with Graham Beck. It is the virtual winemakers table. We had one last week with Paul Cleaver, which is really, really good. Andries Berger is the winemaker there. This week, it is Graham Beck. Well, not this week. It is coming up with Graham Beck. It is a chance to do something I don't think we do enough of in South Africa, which is to pair our Cup Classique with food, bubbles and food. And there you can see some of the rosé from Graham Beck, very dry brut style, with some salmon mousse and a bit of pickled cucumber, picking off some of the citrusy flavors, a little bruschetta with some blue cheese over some brut rosé. And then you've also got some of the zero dosage. The zero dosage, absolutely no sugar added. That is drier than Milos in summer, is that brut dosage at zero from Graham Beck. So that is coming up. 3 wonderful dishes. Want to be part of it? Well, it's taking place next Wednesday. I will be hosting it from Athens by that stage. And it is normally 650 Rand, but if you're a member of the Pick n Pay Winemakers Club, which you should be, a Pick n Pay Wine Club, then you get 100 Rand off that ticket. It's a great night out. All 3 wines get delivered to you, plus all the food. So for 550 Rand, you're getting 3 bottles of Graham Beck bubbles, and you're getting the food. You're learning to make 3 dishes, and you get me hosting you. That is a bargain. So hope to see you online. The last few tickets are available for next week. Our celebration, Alles Verloren, is now 150 years. Alles Verloren has been making wine. The estate itself goes back to 1704, but 150 years of celebration. And as part of that celebration, they're bringing out some rather special wine. We should be doing something with Alles Verloren a little bit later on in the year, just waiting to confirm some dates. But the wine estate celebrating a really important milestone of the Malan family that has been looking after the wine ever since. It's also going to be the end of time with Distel, so there's lots to be spoken about with Alles Verloren, but they are celebrating with an old vintage reserve, the port style wine that part of the country makes rather well. So well done to Alice Valora. And also look out for me and Tim Adkin. Going to be joining him on Tuesday, the 6th of September. That's Tim Adkin's report, which will be coming out that week. Who has got 95 points and better? Which are the wines that Tim Adkin feels have really stood out? And what is he reckon we should be keeping a close eye on? We'll be getting Tim himself to give us the Tim Atkins South Africa report. That's coming up first week of September. Now, in just a moment, we go to the Gentilini. I'll get Petros to give us his pronunciation of it. Estate over in Kefalonia. Before we do that, though, what I thought, even though it's a really warm day. It's now just after 6 o'clock in Milos, and it's about 34 degrees. But instead of white wine, which I've been drinking a fair amount of, I decided to throw some wine from the Monemvasia vineyard, which is an Acheriotiko and Mavrudi blend, and just toss it in the fridge for about 20 minutes or so. Take the sting out, add just a touch of chill. And I do this because it's something my brother-in-law, Fotis, who doesn't really drink white wine, but loves his red. He's been drinking a lot of chilled red wine, and not just a Pinot Noir or Grenache style, not just stuff that's super light, but a lot of more medium-bodied wine that has reacted rather well to both time in the fridge and offsetting the heat of Greece. So that is what I'll be drinking this evening from the Monemvasia wineries. I'll also be drinking some Gentilini just as soon as I get my hands on some. I tried the local bottle store yesterday, no luck, but I shall keep searching. In the meantime, though, let's see if our guest has joined us all the way from Kefalonia. Petros is... no, we're just waiting for him. He will be with us in a moment, I am sure. So while we do that... Oh, that is good. So just reading off the bottle here. Monemvasia's red, Acheriotiko and Mavrudi, Scarlet and Ebony, a map of the old in the hands of the new, a year-lasting journey in oak, a reminiscence and a wine that calls to you. It can be perfectly combined with complex flavors such as wild boar roast or aged cheese. It's a real Asterix and Obelix wine there. It suggests 16 to 18 degrees. This is probably in the lower end of that, and doing rather nicely to offset the time of day. So later on this week, Milos on Thursday, and the next week we will be heading over to Athens. I've got I think a couple of winemakers from Crete on Monday, and then next Thursday I'm really looking forward to this. Next Thursday is going to be a collection of people. Yanis is going to be joining us from the Vasaltis estate in Santorini. We will also be joining Gary Jordan from Jordan Wine Estate, and we will be joining Chris Molyneux will be joining us as well. Why Gary and Chris? Well, they are both making Sirtiko on their respective properties, and Ian Nadir, who is importing the wine, but also makes a colombard that gives a Sirtiko a really nice offset. They sit together really nicely. So we're going to be trying all of those. Just a reminder, I'm going to let Ronaldo show you that those photos again, just from a little earlier on today. These are the photos from the beach. If you just jumped online to show you exactly where we are. That is the beach here in Monemvasia, the beach in Milos. And that is just charming, and that water was ludicrously warm. So we swam for probably about 5 hours today. Really good, and a really pleasant day. So just getting a message from Petros, and he is about to come online from the Gentilini Winery. Also look out, coming up is our episode that includes Luddite and my new wine, including not just the Shiraz, but also a Chenin Blanc that I think you will be pleasantly surprised by, which are a lot drier and leaner than some of the slightly more fruit-forward Chenins we get from the slightly warmer climates. There we go. That's an update from where I'm finding myself. Just waiting to get Petros online, and we can get into our show properly. So there we go. Our local beach, and yeah, just a really good spot, and thoroughly enjoyed being there today. You're right. Also, look out for, just as we wait for Petros, a couple of other bits and pieces. We'll be doing some really cool stuff with the team from Reciprocal Wines. They've got a brand new wine coming out. So that's on the horizon, and also looking to do something with the Great Domains team, and with Duncan Savage, who is bringing out his latest release. In fact, those come out next Tuesday morning. Savage Wines open for their next vintages, and a 10-year vertical coming up as well. So that's a lot of wine stuff to look forward to. And then a little later on this year, we still don't have the exact date, give me a week or so, but the Dan Really Likes Wine charity auction, which did particularly well at the end of last year. We've got a new partner, new directive for some of the wine we're sending out. So hoping to have as many of you as possible, either there in person or watching online. And that'll be probably back end of November, early December, once we finalize that. All right, Gentilini coming online in a second. I'm sitting and letting this open up a little. And I think we have some good news. I think we have a Greek winemaker. Indeed, we do. Iasu Petros.
How are you? Yassas.
Welcome to have you on. I am in Milos. You're in Kefalonia. Together we are
I'm
celebrating
in
Greek.
Kefalonia. You're drinking wine and I'm drinking water. That's not fair.
Oh dear. Well, look, lovely to have you on the show. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. Set the scene for us. Tell me a little bit about where you are and about your winery.
Sure. We are located on the island of Kefalonia, which is on the west side of Greece. It's the biggest of the Ionian Islands, and it's very famous for a couple of varieties, like Robola of Kefalonia, which is a white PDO wine. Maverick Daphne, that we make dry red, but the appellation is for sweet. Kefalonia is a little bit crazy, so we can do whatever we like with the law. And of course, we make there is a variety of Moscato, Muscat of Kefalonia, which is again another famous variety for the island. Kefalonia is a beautiful island. It's a green island, and it's completely opposite that from Milos that you are right now. It's green, it's wet sometimes, and it's got beautiful beaches. It's a nice destination for holidays. But Gentilini is a small winery. Actually, it's one of the small producers of Greece, and we started making wines in 1984. And along with my wife, we're the second generation now, and we are preparing the third one in a few years' time. So see how it goes.
It's an island I love. I was there with my wife and her family a few years ago. We had a splendid time, and one of the memories that springs to mind from my time was a restaurant in Catalonia called the Olive Garden, which was run by a South African lady. And it seems she's not the only South African influence on the food and wine scene in Catalonia. Tell me about how Cape Town inspired a gentleman called Spiros to get your wine story up and running.
Ah, oh yes. Firstly, there are a lot of South Africans here on the island, and actually, there's a couple of restaurant owners still on the island. They're making amazing food. Now about Spiro, my father-in-law, he started making wine in Stellenbosch. He was working with Simon Barlow in Rustenburg, and in the late 70s, and he got the first, let's say, baptism of making wine in South Africa. And not only that, when he decided to go and make the winery, establish the winery in the island, he employed one of the leading winemakers on from South Africa, Andrew van Wyk. He was South African, and he took Gentilini from 1989, I think, to 1992. So there is a little bit of a connection. So it's the first, let's say, um, introduction into winemaking was from South Africa. So Spiro started from there, and then he employed all the techniques in viticulture and enology here on the island of Catalonia.
So that set the scene. That was the first generation. His daughter, your wife, together with you now following on. The accent, as people who are watching, particularly back in South Africa, has that nasty twang of people who tend to beat us at cricket and occasionally at rugby, which is a throwback to your origins. Tell me the story about Melbourne via biology and biotechnology degrees and finding yourself into the wine
You're,
industry. Was it a space where you always thought you'd find yourself?
you're very, very informed, about my CV. Okay, I didn't have any knowledge about wine when I before I met my wife. So all my studies before that was in biology. I was very interested in biochemistry and molecular biology. So I completed my studies in Greece, and then I went back to Australia in Melbourne, to do biotechnology and yeast engineering. And it was something that was really fascinating for me. So I wanted to go further in my studies. So I went to England. I went to Sussex University, and I did even further education in yeast technology. So we were working for making pharmaceuticals, so making with yeast, using yeast, and making the enzymes for commercial use. So when I met my wife and we took over the winery, I was working mostly with my winemaker in those days, and we were tweaking a little bit of yeast because of my knowledge. So we started doing little experimental modifications with different yeast and little mutations in yeast and all these kind of things. So we had some interesting results. So my knowledge in chemistry and biochemistry just helped me understand more the chemistry behind the winemaking. So I'm not winemaker as a trade. I'm not that trained enologist, but the knowledge of chemistry and biotechnology and yeast engineering helped me quite a lot understand and work together with my recent enologists to go forward and create another, nice products using a yeast. Okay, even manipulating a little bit of yeast.
All of which speaks to a real sense I've got over the last few weeks, Petros, in my travels around Greece and speaking to winemakers and visiting some of them. And that's the sense of Greek wine having got a lot more professional, a lot more scientific is a word I use hesitantly in wine, but the use of technology of understanding of lifting the game of Greek wine, where in the past a lot of wine was similar to the wine made by my wife's uncles, bottled in Fanta bottles in little choreo in back corners, and grapes they'd grown
Still
themselves.
happening.
It's very different now. Is that a fair reflection of wine in Kefalonia? That wine is being made more precisely with more attention to detail. The overall product is just a better offering and speaking better of Greek wine. Is that fair?
Listen, you said a magic word, attention to detail. For us, it's very, very important because you don't leave everything to chance. You have to attend your vineyards. You have to have a really good, clean grapes, and from there, it's the minimal thing that you do in the winery in order to make a real good wine. If you employ a little bit of technology and then use it in your advantage, you'll make wonders. So you don't need to do a lot of things. You just need to be on top of it and control every step of your winemaking process. We don't make wine by default. 90% of the wineries on the island produce very fine wines and clean wines with no faults, and that's very, very important. On the other hand, the philosophy of Gentilini, on the other hand, is it's very clean, precise, and we don't leave anything to chance. We look at the kinetics in the fermentations. We clean. We have to have a clean winery, and we have to do everything, let's say, by the book in order to have a steady product, a nice product, and a product that will give you the beauty of the grapes and of course the longevity of the variety. So that's what we're trying to do, especially with the Robola and the Mavrodaphne. There's two schools on the island. There's the modern school, which is us, the cooperative, and a couple of other wine producers on the island of Catalonia, and the other three winemakers are they go towards the more low intervention winemaking with it. That means that it's mostly just do wild fermentations and do minimal interventions. So, different results, different styles, but all acceptable and all they have a philosophy behind it, each winemaker.
which all comes off the platform of the grapes that you have and the wine that you're able to produce out of the vineyards that you have. How does Kefalonia sit in comparison to some of the other areas, say Santorini, for instance, very dry? How is your terroir? To what extent does that terroir define not just the grapes that you can grow, but the style of wine that you produce from them?
As I said before, Kefalonia is one of the most important wine regions of the island. Sorry, of Kefalonia. That I just dropped my phone. Hold on. Okay. So, it's a unique terroir. And what we're trying to do on the in Gentilini and everybody here is to express that amazing terroir. It's unique. We have a mountain which is about 1600. On the slopes of that mountain, we have limestone. We have good vegetation, good rainfall, and of course there is the influence of the sea because if you take the radius between the shore and the mountain, and the 850 meters, it's about 10 kilometers. So you have all this breeze that goes up to the mountain. So it creates a nice microclimate, and that gives you amazing results. So what we're trying to do is try to preserve that and give it all those results in the bottle. So Kefalonia, if you compare it with the Santorini, for example, we can say that it's a more uh, has lots of similar characteristics as the wine, but has more fruitiness. You don't have that stress, the dry stress, the water stress that you can have in Santorini. On the other hand, if you like Santorini, you probably will love Robola. It's more like more floral, more aromatic, more still expresses a great a deal of minerality. With the reds, I think it's a completely different thing from Santorini or from other regions. I think again, Mavrodafni is a very unique variety, and the when you have a ball up in the high altitude vineyards, Mavrodafni is close to the sea, so you have good ripeness, good fruit, something new. It's not an Ayurvedico, it's not a Xinomavro, it's not a Mavrotragano, but it's something new, which is unique again, and that's what we're trying to sell. We're trying to sell the rare varieties of Greece and the very unique varieties of Greece because you're not going to find a lot of big quantities. It's a very very small region. Okay, the amounts that we produce as a wine region is very limited, so we have to focus on a niche market. So it's not, I think it's a unique area, and the wines are really unique and express the nice terroir of the region, which is unique. And if you go to Google Maps, you'll see that big mountain which is in the center of the island creates a fantastic wine region.
I'm increasingly sorry that I didn't get to your vineyard when I was in Kefalonia, but it suggests I maybe need to pay another visit to the island soon. And I did love my time there. Or I can't visit it. I can certainly drink the wine from it and pick it up in other parts of Greece. But when you do pick up a wine, whether it's specifically from you or from other vineyards, before we talk in a little more detail about some of the exact wines, is there a sense of, yes, this is a wine from Kefalonia? Is there something really distinctive in the Robola, in the other grapes that you make, that just because of that combination of style and terroir and climate, you know straight away as a Greek wine aficionado, this is Kefalonia?
Of course, Robola has a very distinct aroma and style, and as soon as you get familiarized with a grape variety, because it's, as I said, it's quite rare. You're not going to find a lot of bottles in the market. As soon as you try it and you taste it, then you'll realize that as soon as even in a blind tasting, you have a glass of Robola, you'll see, you can identify it immediately from that minerality and that kind of aroma from the grape. With the reds, it's a little bit different. It's completely different. It doesn't taste like a Yergitico, doesn't taste like Cinnamon. It's got again a unique taste. I think it's more like a Sangiovese, for example. I think some people will be confused. I think we need a little bit more time to find a style for the Mavrodafni. But I think for the Robola, we're there, and the Robola is getting a lot of attention the last 5 6 years, and it's because of this kind of high quality that we produce. as a whole, as an island.
To the challenge that many South African vineyards have, where we have the ability in South Africa, as I'm sure you'll know, particularly via your father-in-law, there's a lot of different wine that we make rather well. How much of a challenge is it in Catalonia in deciding how much are we able to make, and where do we draw the line on what we think we do particularly well, and helping to define who we are as a wine region?
Okay, in the beginning of the 80s, my father-in-law had planted a lot of Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc on the island, and of course, as soon as we, because it was the fashion there, there were the Greek varieties were overcropping, so there was no quality grapes from Rabola and Mavrodafni those days. So what we did when I came at the family and we started taking over with my wife, the first thing we did is we grabbed everything out. So we I took a chainsaw and I cut everything, all the Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc from um, from our vineyards. Listen, the focus on the island is the varieties of the island, the local varieties. So we are focusing there. We draw the line about cropping because the viticulture on the island is quite in a primitive stage. Only the winemakers that own their own vineyards do proper viticulture. The people that grow and we buy grapes are doing it on the side. That means that we need to educate them and we need to find a way to convince them to make grapes and pay the grapes uh, at a premium in order to get low yields and quality grapes. So when I say low yields, when we grow, when a Gentilini grows, it's about 600 kilos, 500 kilos, 400 kilos. Strema, that's about 4 tons a hectare, which is very, very limited. The other people, the growers that we buy grapes from, they go up to 800 kilos per strema. That's 8 tons per hectare. So in order to make them reduce that quantity, that we have to pay that premium, and we try. But it's the mentality of the local people that they can't afford um, emotionally to throw grapes because it's all the grapes and the vineyards. The vineyards come from their fathers and their grandfathers. So it's like it's a very fine line. So we have to be very careful. I think local varieties are very, very important for Catalonia. I think that's the future of Catalonia. We have about 30 different varieties on the island. So if we focus on these local ones, I think this is the way forward to establish a wine region and make the region important in Greece. This wine region important in Greece.
That's a similar sentiment to one I've heard from a number of winemakers. And although we have drunk some quite good Chardonnay and some nice Syrah and some good Sauvignon Blanc,
Of course,
it's been the Greek grapes that have really stood out, and which I have
of
particularly
course.
enjoyed. I want to ask you a bit about your wine operation, Petros, and the numbers. We have usually on the big South African estates a fairly large workforce, a sizable number of people. Generally, I get the sense that things are a little more modest in terms of the numbers here in Greece. How many people work on your property? And when it comes to harvest, how does that harvest work? Is it mechanized? Is it hordes of
No, no,
relatives
no, no. But,
dragged in from Melbourne?
yeah.
How does it all work?
I would love to have a mechanized, harvest because the biggest problem in Greece is to find hands or pickers and you get generally people to help you in the vineyards during harvest. And I'm experiencing the same problem actually for tomorrow because I'm picking Mavrovatin tomorrow, and it was really hard to find extra workers. In my operation right now, what I've done is I created a core of people. So I have them all year round. There are about 8 people working full time at the winery, even though that we produce very small amounts. We produce altogether 120,000 bottles a year. So we're overstaffed, but we need to have these trained people in order to know how to pick, how to work in the winery, how to work in the vineyard. So I have created a little team of people. I have 2 winemakers, and all the other staff are working in the vineyard and around the winery as helpers. So 8 people altogether. During harvest, we try to find, when we have a big vineyard that we have to pick, we try to find at least 15 people to work and pick, about an acre, sorry, a hectare of vineyard because the vineyards are very high up. So even if it's um, 1 hectare, it's on a cliff. So you need extra manpower to carry and to work hard. The thing is, we're not very competitive in prices because even the wages are quite high. In Catalonia, it's actually out of this world, and we see how we try to minimize this kind of cost. And it's not easy. It's not easy.
Which leads to a good question on pricing. I've been watching quite closely as I've been into bottle stores, been to restaurants. I think back to my first time in Greece 10, 11 years ago when most of the first one I had was, as I mentioned earlier, my wife's uncle's Fanta bottles poured into chipped beakers. It was very much entry level wine and comfort wine. Now I go to Omega 3 on Sifnos, and there's a bottle of Assyrtiko from Tinos sitting at €430 a bottle on the wine list. Things have changed in Greece at the top end. How
Absolutely.
have people in Greece responded to wine increasing in price? Have they understood and appreciated that there is an increase in quality to go with it? And do you feel more of an impact being made by Greek wine beyond Greek borders?
Listen, it's quite weird because we make a selection of wines. They start from 10 euros and go up to 150 euros. And what we saw is that the high-end wines they're selling easier than the ones that are cheaper because there's a lot of competition with the cheap wines. So people, for a small operation that we have no problem of selling wines in high prices. Now about exports, okay, there is a little bit of pressure in exports, especially in the United States, because they have some, let's say, if you want to pour your wine by the glass, you have to be below $10. I think we can't compete over there, especially the wines from Catalonia when um, grapes are expensive. I think it's the second most expensive grape in Greece. Santorini, I think, is 5 euros a kilo. Here is about 1.5, €2 a kilo. So we can't compete with that. There is a lot of pressure for the export market, but we are standing our ground and we are trying to penetrate the market and find a niche market. We don't want when Catalonia wine is never going to be supermarket wine. It's not going to be a wine that we will find on the shelf of on the BP petrol station rack. The main thing is to find in good restaurants, good wine shops, and because it's very limited production, so there's not a problem selling high expensive wines here on the island. Right now, I'm selling a €150 bottle of Robola, and it flies like hotcakes. It sells
And
like
then
hotcakes. So it's
And I'm
no
I'm I'm
problem.
I'm not surprised by that. Because if Yanis Valambos recommends you, then clearly your wine is very good. But also because the perception, even as far as South Africa, of Greek wine has picked up considerably over the last few years, and so you're now in a space where charging €150 for a bottle is something that I think people will accept. Is it the start of a great growth of Greek wine? Do you think we're going to start to see Greek wine popping up on wine lists around the world, sitting on the very top shelf of supermarkets, sitting in top boutique wine shops internationally?
I think we've done a lot of work to work all together as a country to become a wine region that is acceptable around the world. So, the last 15 years we were traveling around the States, Australia, Canada, and in the beginning of the 80s when we were selling our wines, to England, we were the only Greek wine on the list. Now you can find a range of Greek wines, and because of traveling around with other fellow winemakers, supporting regions of Greek regions, wine regions, that gave us, let's say, that opened the door for educated sommelier to introduce the Greek wine region into their wine list. So that's a big win for us. We need a lot of work, but I think that every year we're gaining a little bit of this pie of the market. So I think it takes a little bit of time, and I think we're getting there.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about your specific wine before we let you go, Petros, and just having a flick through to kick off with two of them. I see you do have a little bit of Sauvignon Blanc. I'm not sure if that's still the case. And then I think I saw a rosé with some Moscafelero.
Yes, we do. We use firstly. Let's go for the Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc. I grabbed everything here from Catalonia. It comes from the mainland. It's just that we're continuing the tradition of my father-in-law. So it's a wine that we just keep it. We produce 10,000 bottles a year just because he started some of these wines with Sauvignon Blanc. Now the Moscofilero, the rosé. We have about 2 hectares of Moscofilero here on the island which was planted in the 1990s, and we get very nice fruit from there. And of course, we get a little bit. We source a little bit of some grapes from Mantinia, which is a region in the Peloponnese Appalachian region. So we make our I love the bottle we put there. We make the rosé, which is a quite unique process because we leave the skins in contact with the juice for 4 days because it's a pink variety. So we extract all these beautiful flavors of uh, quince, rose petals, and strawberries. And we have a little pot of Syrah as well, so we can pick that and vinify it again for few hours, just get a little bit of color, and then blend it together and leave it for 8 months with batonnage. So it's a wine, a rosé wine, which is very aromatic, and actually a lot of people here on the island they really enjoy it because it's a very summer wine. It's a crowd pleaser.
If you were watching the show a couple of weeks ago, you will have seen me tasting some Moscafelero from Botsanakis, a grape I'm getting my head around
Beautiful,
Greece. I'm also getting my head around the
Porphyry.
red.
What a man.
And again, this is me going back my decade or so from my introduction, and my then new wife dragged me off to Greece to see why she was raving about it. And the white wines I took to instantly, the red wines needed a bit more convincing, but red wine has improved consistently with every visit since, to the point where now there's some really strong red wine. Still think white wine is top of the list, but the reds have definitely closed the gap considerably. And a lot of those that I've had are blends. You've got, I think, an Chryoteko Mavro Daphne red blend that comes together. Tell me a bit about that in the context of how you see the change, the improvement in red wine in Greece in the last decade or so.
Oh, absolutely. The last 15 years, there's a big change in red wine making. In the beginning, there were, let's say, over extracted, lots of use of barrel, um, over oaked, and quite heavy. I think that now the trend, and that's what we're doing, is trying to minimize the use of barrel, try to enhance the fruit in the wine. Clean wines, a lot of fruit, nice flavors, and I think that this is the way forward. We need a little. I think that we need a lot of work to make a big wine from Greek varieties. But we're working. We have the technology. What we need is the age of the vines and a little bit more, let's say, attention to detail in winemaking for reds. Um, uh, for us, we started making a Mavrodaphne. We had the Eclipse, which is 100% Mavrodaphne with with the barrel, exactly the bottle you're showing. And now we're starting to reduce the oak. And in order to do that, we created another wine, which is my daughter's wine, and it's Iris Vineyard, which is 100% Mavrodaphne with no oak whatsoever. So now we're trying to find, making these two wines, the fine line between Iris and Eclipse in order to make something that is completely unique and will age nicely and it can be big. So it needs a little bit of work from our point of view. Talking about the Notes Red, which is a blend of Agirgitico and Syrah and Mavrodaphne, it was a wine that we've created in the 2004, and everything started when we started replanting all our vineyards here on the island. When we had young vines, all the young vines were going into the to a big tank, and the Mavrodaphne and the Syrah, and in order to create, a wine which is fresh, aromatic, easy drinking, and of course, the it needed something. So I was trying to do blends with Pinot Noir, and I was trying to do blends with Cabernet, and then with Limno, and then with Agirgitico. And I saw that Agirgitico on the end, it was a really versatile variety, easygoing, and then we did a blend. So after all these years, 18 years that we've been making the Gentilini Notes Red, which has the agricultural, it's a wine that is not a heavy wine, but it's very easy drinking and it's good for, let's say, Kefalonia, for summer vacation in the summer wine for when you're on the island of Kefalonia. So it's it's quite interesting.
Which is exactly where I am now, trying some, in this case, Hriotico with Mavrudi, and just popped it in the fridge for 20-25 minutes, and it's offsetting
And
30.
we really recommend this. We recommend the wine to be a little bit chilled because it's the style. When you're in the summer outside in 35 degrees, you need something chilled. You can't have it like boiling hot.
All right, I'll skip over the quick reference you made to the use of child labor on your estate and dragging your poor daughter off to help you with harvest and help with the wine.
She's loving
Uh,
it.
you ask you instead about the future, because my sense over the last few weeks has been of a very exciting future, very exciting present, but an even more exciting future, and Greek wine going in the right direction. What makes you really excited about where Greek wine is going, and where are there possibly one or two areas where you think Greek wine needs to do a bit more work and to have a little more focus?
I think we've my generation and the Vassiliou, Skouras, Paraskevopoulos, Gaia State generation. I think we just passed a hurdle, and that hurdle was to come together and work together for the good of Greek wine. What I'm really, really happy is that I see the children of my fellow winemakers are studying, becoming even better than us, and creating amazing things, and taking over now the previous generation, and they employ new techniques and have a good knowledge of the market and marketing that we didn't have 20 years ago. I'm very happy, and I tell you what, I think that in the next 10 years we'll see something really exciting coming of this new generation of winemakers, which found good facilities and good relations between the fellow winemakers. So that's really, really important because think about it. When I started in '97, we were going to wine shows and no one was talking, no Greek winemakers talking to each other. So there was a problem there. There was a problem of communication. Now we solved this problem. So solving this and talking about and discussing with in between us all the problems and the um, things that we want to change, I think the new generation will do the big wine. I think the way forward is the good wine, the big wine's coming. It's coming very soon, and I think they're giving a little bit more attention to viticulture instead of enology, which is the most important part.
I think today has been another affirmation of Greek wine heading in the right direction, and it's a delight to see, as it is a delight to drink. I'll leave you with a final question, Petros, if I may. What does your father-in-law make of where Greek wine finds itself today, and is he a little taken aback at the extent of the progress and the growth of Greek wine since he first came back from Stellenbosch and decided to give it a crack in Kefalonia?
Hello,
We
can you
got
hear
you there.
me?
Got you back. We did.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Someone was calling me and they interrupted me. Um, okay, when my father-in-law started the business, all the Greek wines were oxidized and really quite bad. And he made a difference when he made a wine with acidity and flavor. Um, of course, now he's 85. A couple of 6, 7 years ago, I took him to one of the Greek wine shows in in Athens, in Enorama, and I said to him like, let's walk around the tables of these winemakers, and he was blown away. He was blown away with the marketing aspect, with the labels, the bottles, everything. He was blown away by the quality of the grapes, of the wine. He was blown away about the varieties he never tasted before. And he was really overwhelmed about how many bottles of wine were produced in Greece, when he was like the only wine in the A80s quality wine that it was produced. So he was really optimistic, and he thought, and he was telling me, in order to go and to become a fine winery, you have to work hard. So this is what we're trying to do. And he's really optimistic. To be honest with you, I was whenever we go out for dinner, we never drink our own wine, and we try our fellow winemakers' wine, Greek wine, of course. And he's really really impressed, honestly.
I can see why, because just in the 10 years that I've been experiencing wine on a far, far smaller scale, the progress has been wonderful. So I think for him, this must be a really uplifting and heartwarming space. Petros, thank you. It is
Thank you
not
so much.
often that a South African and an Australian can get through an entire conversation happily without discussing cricket or rugby and without coming to blows about referees or any other conversational topics that would normally come through. I need to get back to Kefalonia. As I said, I had a lovely time when I was there.
We would love to take care of you and come to the winery and show you around. And I would like to apologize to your people there that for the connection. I lost the links. I'm not very good with technology.
No problem at all. Petros, thank you so much. I am going to seek out some of your wine while I'm still here in Greece and drink it happily. And in the meantime, I'll just ask you to give, especially the South Africans watching, we get a lot of South Africans who come over to Greece. If they do want to come over, are you open for wine tasting? Can they come and visit? What is the offering that you have?
Absolutely, we are open to the public. I don't know if I can turn the camera here because I'm at the cellar door right now, and it's quite packed with people on the other side of the camera. So yes, we're open to the public from April until October, which is the tourist season, the summer season for Kefalonia, and from 11 o'clock until 7 o'clock. And we offer tastings, tours, and of course, we open. We have some wine flights that you can choose for Robolas and from Mavro Daphnis and for all the variety of the wines that we produce. And we can show you the passion that we have.
All right. There's Robola, a grape to keep an eye out for. Will we be seeing it grown in South Africa? Has Evan Sadi already started planting some? I'll do some investigation and let you know. For now, Petros, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time. Pass on South African regards to your father-in-law, and hopefully we'll be sharing a glass of wine or two in Kefalonia in the not-too-distant future.
Take care. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything.
So there we go. Petros from Gentilini, which is on the island of Kefalonia. I think Captain Corelli, amongst others, and you've got the right part of the world. Had a wonderful week there a few years ago. And not just glorious beaches and wonderful food, but some splendid wine, of which Gentilini sits very much to the fore. So that is our show for today. What is happening later on this week? We are at Upos. Nikos is joining us on Thursday amongst a few other winemakers. I will still be in Milos. I might be somewhere slightly different. We're looking at one or two possible options. And then next week, I will be in Athens for a couple of shows. I've got some winemakers from Crete and the grand finale next Thursday with Yanis from Vasaltis, Gary Jordan from Jordan Winery, as well as Chris Molyneux from Molyneux Wines, making some Assyrtiko, and the great Ian Nordeer, who's Colombard, sitting alongside Assyrtiko, makes for a really cool comparison. Another resounding endorsement then today of Greek wine. It's just been so much fun to explore, and I'm off to do some more of that. It's a beautiful Monday evening. I'm going to bury my head in the sand when it comes to watching Manchester United and instead go look up some great Greek food and wine, and hopefully a bottle of Gentilini. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Look out tomorrow. Our magazine show will be up. It includes a trip out to Luddite, where Niels Verberg introduces his brand new vintages of his landmark Shiraz and his Chenin Blanc, and dropping in on Kleine Zalza and the Project X wines, which, in the manner of all great winemakers, is some really weird stuff on the fringes that they're having a huge amount of fun with. So that is coming up tomorrow, Thursday's live show, again from Milos. We'll see you then. Until then, thanks very much to Petros and Gentilini. Have a great evening from Milos. This is Dan Really Likes Wine, presented by Pick n Pay. Goodbye. To join the Pick n Pay Wine Club, simply SMS your smart shopper number to 36775. It's absolutely free, and you'll get for yourself 3 times the smart shopper points on every bottle of wine bought. You'll also get a 20% discount on 10 different wines each month, a 25% discount on a case of wine, and a Magnum, some terrific competitions and invitations to awesome events.